What's going on, guys? I am Overkill, and I messed up. I messed up big time. A lot of you might already have caught on to that. I'll get into that a bit later with a clear explanation as well. But before I do, I need to start by saying... merch! What? We have merch! Overkill merch! Y'all have been asking, so I'm delivering. We have all these beautiful pieces. We got this one. Ooh, look at that. It's pretty. We got that one. Oh, look at that. It's even prettier. We got this one. Mmm, delicious. And we got that one. Ooh, mamacita. That's hotsy-totsy. But yeah, so we have merch, so check it out. Link down in the description. You can pre-order this merch now. You know, you'll get an email when they do ship out. They're pretty nice. Some embroidered stuff. Going into the summer, I know you guys like to be warm. I don't know. Some people live in colder environments, so that's pretty cool. And about merch, what's next? Did you like this first drop? Are you interested in this first drop? What would you like in drop number 2? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. If you're new here, this is a once-a-month vlog where I just kind of level with you guys and talk about what's going on with me, my business, updates, future plans, projects, have a conversation and talk to you about what I've been working on so that you get excited, so that I get excited, which leads me into my first topic. There's going to be a series of topics through this video that we're going to get through. And now that I just see my tattoo on camera, that is a tattoo. And I know a lot of people were freaking out about that. It says courage required. That's not one of the updates. I just got reminded because everyone's like, wow, he's really wearing a washable tattoo for a long time. So topic number 1 is this channel. I still see some people confused, so I will repeat very quickly. This channel is called Overkill, and I'm gonna basically be making what I want to make on this channel, which is a little bit of everything, but most likely everything I make will be connected to telling a story of some kind. That's just what I really enjoy, whether it's a story that happened in my life, whether I go and attempt to do a challenge and tell the story of that challenge, whether it's an alternate universe and it's fiction or fantasy. I want to tell those stories too. I don't really care. I just want to tell stories. That's what I'm here for. That's what I want to do. I'm really having a lot of fun getting into storytelling again and getting the opportunity to tell new stories. I know not all of you like every story that I'm going to tell. Some perform, some don't. I'm really not worried about it. I do care about making content that you guys really are going to enjoy. That's really meaningful to me. We'll get into how I can basically do that a little bit better a little later in the video. But for now, I'm just kind of getting my hands dirty telling stories right now, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So I really appreciate you all who are sticking with me as we, you know, go through this transition on this channel, and it's just been a lot of fun. And so I'm just blessed to be able to be here and do what I'm doing. But boy, do I have some immersive stories for you guys to take part of in the future. That's something I'm super excited about, and let me say, you need to keep your eyes open and always remember to look closer, because this story might just pass you by. We'll see though. There's going to be series and universes that we frequent, but definitely there will always be one-offs and the start to new story universes, right? So that this is going to be like my channel where I make content that I want to make, and hopefully you want to watch it and view it. And I know some of you are only here for 863, and like, I love 863, and actually that's the next topic, the future of 863 content, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, while the vlog format of 863 is largely over, I still have a lot of 863 adjacent stories to tell. For instance, I have a story in Minecraft that I want to tell in 863. That's like an alternate timeline where everything is Minecraft. It sounds really goofy. You'll just have to wait and see, because honestly, it's like a whole movie in Minecraft about 863, as if things played out completely differently. And it's just the story that I want to tell. I don't know when I'm going to tell that story because we're still writing, but there's also bloopers that I think would be really cool, because we've done so many bloopers. Would you guys like to see a blooper video? Not enough people have standards, Sam. Right? High standards, almost unachievable. I'm gonna die on this hill. I think that'd be fun. Another idea that I had is a major compilation of every 863 episode ever. That would be one, like, I think over a 50-hour video. That would be an endeavor, but it'd basically be the 863 movie. All 50 hours of 863 content, all collected into one thing. So you could just watch that thing straight through? Let me know down in the comments below. And last but not least, yes, I am definitely considering, strongly considering, honestly, it's just a matter of when and how, but I want to make 863 Season 5 and Season 6 into audio plays. I just think it'd be super fun and super cool. Now, honestly, there needs to be a couple other things that I need to accomplish and achieve in order to do that. Let me know if this is something interesting, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't read Overkill, so I'm not reading Season 5 and Season 6, or possibly Season 7, because I don't read. And I'm like, okay, well then what if we did an audio play? 863 is just one of the universes. I have like 10 story universes in my head that I've never really been able to share with you because, you know, we've been fixated on 863 or, you know, doing other channels and stuff like that. And I just really want to tell stories, and that's what I'm going to do. So more importantly here though, is I want to tell stories with you. That's been one of my favorite storytelling aspects, at least on YouTube, at least what we've done, is the immersion and interactivity of 863. You guys honestly were telling the stories with me, and that was something that was really meaningful to me. It was just as fun writing the story as it was rewriting the story when you guys caught on, as it was reading and surfacing all of your theories. So that part of 863, I want to live on in all of our different stories and how we tell them. So just know that like we're figuring out ways to do that in a little bit more of a sustainable format, in a format that maybe allows us to expand and do multiple stories. And some people, I understand, they're going to want one story and one story only, and that's the breaks. But hey, that's not what this is going to be. On that note, next topic, pilot testing. Are you guys familiar with how TV shows work? TV shows usually have a pilot, and what happens is the network will fund like the first episode of a show or, you know, a story to see if the audience likes it, to see if the audience takes to it, and then they either go back and rewrite it, or they greenlight it, or they just shelve it or can it altogether based on how the audience responds. That's one of the things that we don't really get to do per se. We have to like upload an episode, and then kind of everyone kind of expects you to like upload the next episode. Understandably, right? Because you started something, you got to finish it. But I have an idea of how to mitigate that to a degree while not constantly starting new stories that I never finish. Here's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start pilot testing in shorts, if that makes sense. So basically what we'll do is we'll make small, like 1 minute long shorts that will potentially be the first episode of a series, and we'll see how well you guys like it. And you guys can talk to us about how you like it. You can talk to us about what we can improve. If that takes off, if people really like that pilot episode in a short format, that gives us much more of an idea of how to make that successfully in long form. Making these episodes, you know, like the last Mega Mystery episode was like 40 minutes. That took weeks of work to just do that one episode. And not that I didn't enjoy it. It was just like, wow, I really hope people like this. But that's not always the way it is. Sometimes I'm like, I have this idea and I think it'd be really cool. If the audience likes it, it'd be more fun. But if the audience doesn't like it, like I'm not married to it. I don't need to do it, right? But then there are other stories where I'm like, no, I have to do this. And those I probably won't put pilots out. I'll just make the story. But there are some where I'm like, I don't know, this could be fun. Let's see what the audience says, right? And so I think it'd be really cool if I were to upload these pilot episodes, right? But we also might upload 2 to 5 variants of the same story, so we could see which one the audience likes. They might be different takes, they might be different versions, you know, think of them as alternate universes. But the idea here is if they all kind of bomb, or they get negative feedback, or people are like, this is kind of boring, I don't really like this storyline, then we won't make it. But if one takes off, or people really like it, we might be like, okay, we should actually invest some time, energy, and money into making this story. It allows us to figure out if there's a demand or a desire for the story. Why do I tell you this? Because we're going to be uploading multiple versions. So the reality is if you see a short in your feed about this particular story, and you swipe and you see another one, it's kind of similar, almost relatively the same story, skip it if you didn't like the first one. But if you really want me to tell that story, go watch all the 3 or 4 shorts. They're only like a couple minutes in total. That'll help me know whether or not you guys want me to actually fund that mini story, that mini series or something like that. Next topic, breaking the spell. For some of you newbies here, when we first started doing 863 content, or at least when we announced that it was fiction, I was adamant about the audience and the staff not breaking the spell. And what that meant was, while we were doing the story, everyone was supposed to essentially remain in character. And I think that was important to create a really fully immersive environment inside the story world. And I really like that. But I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I'm going to basically lift the spell break mandate. I don't want to be stuck in the character of Overkill. I don't want to be stuck in the character of Matthias863 or whoever else I'm talking to you as. I want to be me. I want to also talk to you about storytelling and talk to you about all these stories. Now, I'm not going to break the spell while I'm telling the story. That'd be kind of weird. There's going to be videos like this where we're talking about storytelling, where we're talking about the universes that we're building, and there's going to be videos that are actually just stories. As a rule of thumb, I would ask, be vulnerable and jump into the story world and preserve that for others when that particular video is a story that you need to take a leap of faith on, right? You need to bridge that sort of believability. When the videos are story driven, then that's when, like, you know, we should keep the spell intact. But on the channel as a whole, I'm not really going to do that anymore. I'm just going to talk to you as I talk to you, right? So for instance, there might be like some story episodes, and then like there's a different episode where I talk about making that story. I just want to be a storyteller and go kind of back to a YouTuber, but I still want to tell stories. I don't want to just live in those stories where I don't actually get to have like a real relationship with you guys and tell you what I'm like really working on. And on that note, next point, I'm working on an app, and it's not going to be quite the same as Mighty Networks, if you guys all remember that debacle. But I'm building this one myself. I've actually been building an app that we shelved, you know, for the past 4 years, been building that. Software's complicated. Learned a lot. That's why we started to do Mighty Networks. And that didn't work out too well because there were just some other issues with the platform. I want to build my own app, and we've started developing our own app. This app is going to be a platform to tell stories on for you and me to engage in these universes and these story worlds that we're building. And yes, the app itself won't be paid, but there will be subscriptions to it. Some of the younger audience I know who's grown up on ad-supported content might have a difficult time understanding that things aren't always free, but my goal is to create an app for our specific community centered around these interactive stories we tell together. And I really want to launch it this year, and so I just want to let you know I'm working on that. I'm open to feedback as to what your expectations are and what you'd like to see in this app. But the overall idea here is that it's a place for all of these different story universes to thrive, so we can collectively tell stories within these pre-existing established universes that we've made together, such as 863 being one of them, or a couple other universes that I have ideas for, right? Like, for instance, Battle Universe, which is a book that I'm writing, not about Nerf. It is a sci-fi book that I'm writing that I want to kind of open up a little bit more and start building that universe. There's a couple other universes that I think would be really cool, but it's all about that interactivity of connecting with all these platforms together. So for instance, eventually, it won't happen at launch, but eventually I want this app to take the place of all the other disparate tools that we're using. So what that means is, yeah, I don't want to use Reddit anymore. I want that to all be in our app. Imagine if the Reddit board was attached to the video. So instead of just a bunch of comments and then you go to Reddit to post something, you can post a meme under the video itself that it's referencing. I think that would be so cool to have a place, instead of going and jumping to Discord, you have a place to have chats and conversations in this particular app. It's like all collective in one. I think it'd be dope if within the subscription of this app, you also get access to all of the fiction that we're writing instead of having to also subscribe to Substack. So I want to kind of slowly and surely bring it all under one roof, so it's a much more easy place for you guys to find all of, you know, the Spellbound content. On the topic of this app, because I'm hearing a lot of your thoughts, especially as you're preparing to comment right now about how the fact that I said this app was paid and there's probably going to be content on it that's not on YouTube, right? Like, I see a lot of people that go like, I really want to read the book, but I can't. I really want to watch, you know, this bonus content, but I can't. And I understand that. At the same time, that's part of life, is that you don't get to have everything because things cost money, and it's not an arbitrary cost. Like, it actually costs money to be here employing, you know, 10 to 15 people to tell stories at this scope. But I also want to solve that issue to a degree. I had this idea, this cockamamie idea. Maybe there's something here, maybe there's not. Maybe everyone's going to hate it. What if content was free? The platform was just open up. Anyone could sign up and just watch, read, you know, review, whatever, for free. But there always has to be a but. What if it wasn't the content that was behind a paywall? What if it was the community? There's pros and cons to this, always pros and cons to everything. But the pros are content would not be behind a paywall. Anyone could watch it, right? Anyone could like read or listen or watch or anything like that. You'd still be able to consume, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to engage. This kind of flips the existing industry on its head because part of it is like there's this exclusivity, which I don't really like, but then there's also exclusivity behind a content paywall. But the problem with content paywalls is you don't even know if you like the content through the paywall. What if it was different? What if you had the opportunity to just watch whatever you wanted to watch for as long as you wanted to watch it, and then you could engage with the community when you decided to actually support that content? This might not work at all, and it might be super dumb, but I thought it was an interesting idea. The cons is it might feel isolating a little bit. I don't know. But at the same time, there's like a quality of the community that would go up, you know, because most of the time people who pay for the stories that they enjoy aren't like division causing haters, if that makes sense, or just like spam in the comments down below. So I don't know. What's your take? What do you think about that? Would it work for you? Would it not work for you? If it would work for you, why do you like it? If it wouldn't work for you, why do you not like it? And what would it take for it to work for you? At the end of the day, the ad model works on YouTube, but the ad model is so unachievable for like a small app. It's just ridiculously unachievable. And if you know it's more achievable than I think, I'm all ears, because I don't really know anything about how to like build a whole ad ecosystem. That sounds like a nightmare rather than just building an app. But these are all just thoughts and discussions, and I'm trying to listen to your feedback, respect your expectations while also challenging the status quo to a degree. It might not work and I might abandon the idea, but the Lord only knows, because that sounds to me like a nice balance, right? Because most people are complaining that they don't get access to the content because they can't afford it. So like, what do you want more? Do you want access to the community more, or do you want access to the content more? Last but not least, the topic that I need to apologize for. So in the Mega Mystery episode, there was a cipher in the evidence. And yeah, I suggest you abandon that. Because, well, I messed up making that, and it's not solvable. So I actually explained this on a members only live stream here. So I'll just make a quick edit of what I said. Here it is. For this episode titled She Went Missing, I told the team I want to actually do this episode myself because I want to kind of set some new standards, set a new precedence for what we're able to do with AI. But how much I was able to do with AI was just unprecedented compared to just a year ago. Like basically ChatGPT 4 helped me constantly prompt it, got information, got brainstorming, kind of put pieces together, reprompt it, kind of put pieces together, reprompt it, put pieces together, reprompt it. We were having to hit this deadline just to upload. Basically, I wrote the entire episode of She Was Missing and She Didn't Know It in 3, maybe 4 days. The entire mystery, and then that's the entire evolution of how we find and solve the mystery, and then that's all the different elements that we create, right? So it's all the chat logs, it's all the documents, it's the video, it's the like all of that stuff. That episode, I would say, is 80% ChatGPT. And you couldn't tell. You know, you don't actually have ChatGPT write the story. That's never really what it was about. It was always about like, hey, I have this idea, help me flesh it out. So doing that, and then in conjunction with actually going to Midjourney and making the initial concept and then the actual specifications for the drone, and then going to Runway ML in order to make that drone video that you saw. And then I went to ChatGPT and I was like, please make me a cipher. And since it took me about 3.5 days to do this whole video and we were shooting on Friday, it was Thursday night at like 6 o'clock. Tomorrow I got to get up early and prep this whole studio space in order to like actually, you know, start shooting. And I didn't get a chance to proofread anything. I didn't have time. It's a miracle that the video even worked at all. The cipher that Midjourney created was broken. Yeah, so sorry about that. That's on me. But hey, it's still pretty incredible that, you know, I'm able to use these types of tools for storytelling. This makes at least the storytelling that I'm doing here so much more possible with like a much smaller team. Just a reminder on these types of episodes, they're few and far between. Like I know like the last video, everyone's like, this isn't 864. Like I never said it was going to be 864. Really clarifying, not every episode's 864. Not every episode's 863. Just want you guys to know that. But, you know, when I feel compelled compelled and inspired to make another episode, I will. But the story has to come in here. It can't just come because I'm forced into telling a story, because then that's just going to be a bad story. It's got to come from here. I really appreciate you guys. I know this is kind of a long-winded video. I had a lot of topics to discuss. Really curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I just want to tell you that I appreciate you, and I thank you for being a part of this community, and I'm just really excited about where we're going. Yeah, I'm really excited about where we're going. So, pay attention.